Hello everyone, welcome to my session Continuous Database Deployment with EF Core and Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions. Myself Anuraj, I work as a product architect at Soxo Solutions Private Limited. You can find me in Twitter at the @Anuraj. Okay, here is the agenda we will be discussing. First, we will discuss about why you need to automate database deployment. Next, we will look into what are the challenges in automated database deployment. Then we will look into EF core migrations. That is the feature we will be using to deploy our database changes to production or your environment, staging or dev QA environment. Next, we will be building a database deployment pipeline in Azure DevOps. Next, we will look into EF core migration bundles. Again, it's a new feature introduced in EF core in .NET 5, which helps you to deploy database changes. It's a recent addition. Then we will be building a database deployment pipeline in GitHub Actions with the help of EF core migration bundles. First, why you need to automate database deployment. Let me tell you a story. We are a SaaS company, and you may know when you are building SaaS applications or SaaS business solutions, we will be the database can be created or provisioned using mainly three ways you can provision a database for SaaS business. One, you can create one database for all your customers, and you'll be putting a tenant ID or customer ID to the each row. So when customer A is writing data, we'll be putting the tenant ID for that user. And another way, we will be creating a schema for each user. For example, when you provision a database or provision an instance for a client, we will be creating a new schema for that customer. And third approach or third way is provisioning an isolated database for the customer. So since we are in SaaS business, we used to provision a new isolated database for our customers. So the challenge when I joined the company was if we want to deploy a feature or a set of feature, when we are for a release, we had to take down the system because the deployment was manual. We had to connect. We are using Azure. We had to connect to each database, run a set of scripts, and if we miss a database, if we miss a script, you may not know until the customer raises a support ticket or raises an issue. So we had to make sure these things are working fine. So we had to take the application out. We had to manually deploy it, and it is impacting the developer who is doing it. And finally, we are connecting to the production database, as if the script is not properly vetted, it can end up in a mess. So all these things faced when I started my career in Soxo. So these are the main points. First, reduce the application downtime. I don't want my customers to wait for 3 hours, 4 hours, so that they can use the new feature. Then manual deployment. As I mentioned earlier, if I am connecting to each and every database and executing a set of scripts, I may miss, since I am a developer, and if I got maybe it will work for if you have 10 customers, 10 databases. But if you are going for a very big customer or user base, and you have got say 100 or 50 even, it will become a mess because you have to manually execute this much script in each and every database, and if we miss one, it can end up like you will know only when customer raises an issue. Improve developer productivity. That's one of the major concerns, because the guy who's deploying will end up like will be frustrated because he got a lot of risk, and it is a very like rudimentary job. You are looking into each and every database you select, execute a save, and finally meet audit or regulatory requirements. So the challenge was, since most of our clients was from BFSI, there will be some auditor coming into uh, on board when we deploy or when we provision an instance for the customer, and they will do a lot of, we had to do a lot of paperwork, like how we are doing this, how, what is your DevOps, what is your SDLC, all those things, and security, all those things. So if you are saying okay, we are doing it manually, and it's a risk because you are exposing a production database to a developer. So to avoid all these things, we need to automate the database deployment. So what are the challenges? The first challenge is version controlling database, and database changes are difficult. So what usually I, so like when we are deploying a feature, we used to take a backup of a existing database, and we will say okay, this is the version before we are applying the database changes, and after that, on the next release we will take this. But the challenge was, if I want to compare okay what changed in feature A and feature B, I had to restore these two databases and do a comparison, and that is not easy. So I had to connect to SQL Management Studio, all those things. It is very difficult. And another challenge is approaching application process of application and database deployment is different. So database usually deployed using, like when one deployment approach is restore the database, another approach is keep a template DB or something and restore it, add some audio master details into that. It's kind of same, and then run everything from script. Every whatever database changes you're doing, create a script out of that and run it. Okay, but application deployment, it is very easy. Like you compare it, you push it to a web app or web server, it is done. So these two approaches are entirely different. How to solve? So what we try, uh, we want to make sure database changes should be part of the like application. So I can avoid all these things because reduce application downtime. I will come to that. Our issues with manual deployment, if it is part of the application code and it will be deployed along with the application, you don't need to worry about database or manual deployment. Developer productivity, it will won't impact because we are building a CI/CD system for application deployment, so it will be taken care. and audit regulatory requirements also taken care because no one is touching the production database for deployment. And since manual deployment is avoided, application downtime also can be reduced. So how we are solving it? So what we are doing, we are keeping the database changes as part of application code, and it can be version control and can be deployed along with the application source code. So how we are doing it? We are using it EF core migrations, and what all changes we are doing, it should be checked in or committed to GitHub or Azure DevOps, whatever version control you are using. And if I want to compare, okay, what's happened between these and these two releases, you can always go back and check the migrations. Okay. So let's look into EF core migration. Migrations is a feature which provided which is part of entity framework. It's a way to incrementally update the database schema in sync with the application data model while preserving the existing data in the database. So to use EF core migrations, you need to install the .NET tool or .NET CLA tool. You can do this with PowerShell in Visual Studio, but here I am using CLA tools and Visual Studio Code. I am not using Visual Studio. And then you need to create a migration and apply migration, and you can also generate SQL script from the migrations also. So let's jump to a demo. So here is a web API project. Okay, nothing. It doesn't have any implementation in the controller and all, because I am more focused on the database deployment part. So if you look into it, it has the database context, and there is a note class which is the table I am building. So in the DB context thing, let me open SQL Script. So, and this control is nothing, and here is the connection string to my database server. This local database. Okay, then yeah, let me delete it first time here. Okay, to use entity framework core migrations, you need entity framework core design package. You can install it using .NET and package Microsoft Entity Framework Core Design. Since I am using .NET 6, I am getting the latest version 6.0, and this one, it need not be SQL Server, since I am deploying in my to my production. It's in Azure SQL Server. I'm using this package. Okay. Let's open SQL Manager Studio. And in the connection string, I'm trying to create a nodes database. Let me filter. So I don't have a database like nodes database. So you understood. So DB context also is pretty much same. I just creating a nodes DB context, which is a from DB context class, and which has a DB set property, which is nodes. And in the startup or program.cs, I am injecting that DB context, which is using SQL Server. This is the connection string, and which can be consumed here on DB context and able to access here. Okay, I'm not looking into the web API part. I just created for the sake of the demo. So here first we need to install the .NET tool. So let me run this command .NET tool install. Global .NET. Okay. Unfortunately, like I already installed that too, so it says .NET IF is already installed. Okay, let me clear the screen. Let's see what's .NET IF. So you'll see the EF unicorn, and here is some commands. And right now we are interested only on migrations command. So let's see what it does. .NET IF migrations and help. So these are the options. It will create new migration, creates an executor. We'll look into that bundle command later. List of available migration, remove script, and we are only looking into these three in this session. Okay, and so first we install the tool, then just create the migration. So I am creating migration .NET here, migrations, and if I want to know more about this, you can do like this. It will give you the details of EF migrations outcome. So I am just saying .NET EF migrations, and I'm saying initial migrations. Then I'm putting into that slash data this project, and I'm putting migrations. You don't need to put this one. It's building the project. If you already built the project, you can skip with no build option. So it's built, completed, and it's generated a migration. So if you look into the data migrations, you will be able to see that's interesting. Why it didn't create any other migration, I'm wondering. That's strange. Let me run that again. Something wrong, I guess. Okay, let's do one thing. Let me add let me run the command again, and if you look into that, yeah, I think I put So if you look into this, you will be able to see it is created a class called initial migration, and it's inheriting from migration. And there is two methods, up and down. So these, if you look into the code, you will be able to see it is creating a table, nodes, and these are the columns. So if I look into nodes, you will be able to see ID as a primary key, here ID, and title, with nvarchar max, or sorry, nvarchar 255, because I put a attribute like string length 255. It's required, okay. And yeah, since for content, since I didn't mention any string length, it is putting as nvarchar max and create now. It's a data, so it's data 2. It's SQL Server, and yeah, since everything is not nullable, the nullable attributes false, and the ID entity framework, since if there is a property called ID, it will automatically treat it as primary key. So in the it is setting as a primary, and in the down, yeah, dropping the table. So when we apply migration, the up method is called, and when we are removing a migration, down method is called. Okay. So and in local machines, when we apply migration, if the database doesn't exist, it will create a database. So let me run migration. So run database. So if you look into it, something wrong again. Connections name, parameter missing. No. I think that was my error comment. Okay, since if I call .df database update, so what I'm doing here, it is building again, and then it is creating a database, not database. Let me open this one. Yeah, it's created a new database. Then it is creating a table, if migration history. Okay, that table is created, and then it is creating a table, nodes. That's also created. So let's open this one. There will not be any data, and when we open this, you will see some data, because it's the database or table which is used by entity framework to update the database. Okay, so if migration history table doesn't exist, it won't be able to update your database. Okay, then let's begin it. So we created migrations. Let's we looked into all these things. Let's create another migration. So what I'm saying, I'm adding two more properties. Who is deleted, and again I'm putting okay, and I'm saying is deleted deleted on and is deleted. And if you look into the down method, it is dropping the column. Okay, and let's run the update again. And you will be able to see alter column, alter table, and alter table. Also, we are inserting some values into EF migration history. Let's go back to EF migration history. You will be able to see use related feature, and in nodes database, if I say star, you will see the new columns. Okay, that's the way EF migrations works. So this is all good, but if we want to deploy this or whatever we did with EF .NET database update, that challenge is we require .NET SDK, because .NET 2 requires .NET SDK. Without SDK, you won't be able to install a tool and run this command. So, and sometimes you want to verify whether you have a DBA who wanted to look into script. So for that purpose, there is a command .NET migration script, and there is an idempotent flag. I will come to that, why we need that. So let's see .NET EF migration script. So if I simply execute this, it will be printed on the console. I just wanted to put it into one script file. I'm just putting without type, because I want to show what's the difference. So what it will do, it will look into all the migrations and it will generate a script with the whatever commands. So when you look into it, you will be able to see it is creating a table nodes. That is the first. Then it is inserting integer migrations. Then it is starting a new transaction and it is adding that 2 columns. It is altering and it is adding a deleted feature. But there is an issue with this script. If I try to run this script on this database, it will fail, because this table is already there and these columns also already there. So to fix an issue, we can provide the I flag or idempotent, so that we can run this script on a database with any time we can run this, so it won't cause any errors. Now let's open the with I. Probably we can do a div compare, and if you see, it is checking for that. That's the difference. It is checking for that migration in the migration history table. If the migration history anyway, first it is same, because it is always checking for a migration history, and in the left side is the with I, right side is without I, and in the left side, if you look into it, it is always checking whether that migration history table contains that migration. If that migration does not exist, then only it is executing this statement. Same applies to to all the scripts. So that I flag is very important. Okay, now let's go back to demo. So we explore all those things. We did the demo. So let's look into how to build a database deployment pipeline. So to build a database deployment pipeline, whatever we did in the demo, we had to do it in the pipeline. So first we need to install the fcode on the build agent. Next we need to generate the script, then publish that script as a build artifact. It's an optional step, and execute the script to deploy the changes to database. Okay, these are the 4 steps. For example, the publish build as artifact, build script as a build artifact is optional step. If you are keeping continuous integration or continuous integration different from continuous deployment, or build pipeline and release pipeline you have. If you have build pipeline and release pipeline, that step is required. Okay, so let's see. In this pipeline, I'm just creating only one pipeline. I'll show you how the release pipeline is also getting created. But I'm just, for the sake of demo, I'm including the deployment step also in this. So first step, we need to install fcode tools on the build agent. So it is actually 2 steps. First we need to create a tool manifest and then fcode tool. Why? Because if I am installing, you are not, like, you can't install a CLA tool on a build agent global, because if you put a global, that means it is installed on every, like, from any path you can access .dm. But for a build agent you don't need to do that, and some you may not, like some build agents, it won't allow you to do that. So first you need to create or you need to install that CLA tool locally. To do that, you need to create a tool manifest, and then you need to install the tool locally. Next you need to run the script to generate the you need to run the command to generate the script. Third, it's an optional step. Publish it as a pipeline artifact, build pipeline artifact, and finally deploy. Okay. Let's look into the Azure DevOps pipeline. So here is the pipeline we created. First, you are creating a tool manifest. So what you need to do when we start pipeline, okay, get a new pipeline. I'm using classic editor, and I just wanted to. You can use anything, and just putting empty job. Then first, here if you look into this, is a .NET Core task. So here add the .NET Core task. Here we are installing the manifest, or creating the manifest. So choose the .NET custom. You can put tool new, and arguments can pass tool manifest. Like this, you can create all 3 things. And here I applied the same thing. You don't need to mention .NET, because that comes with the .NET Core task. You just need to mention the command and migration script, because migrations is part of this. Migrations will be committed to source control. So you just say migration script out. This is a environment variable comes with Azure DevOps, which is basically a directory where you can put the whatever files. Okay, and I am saying add a button or -I so that I can run it to database anytime. It's publish artifact. I will show you how it is used and just putting the path. And here is the SQL task. So uh, here if you look into it, it is actually using my subscription, and here is I'm using SQL server authentication. All these things, DB server, all these things are as a variable, so that it is secure. Okay, and here if you look into variables, I am putting DB name, DB server, password, all these things are secret, user ID, so that I can use it here. Okay, you can use like other like options like connection string or those things also. Excuse me, yeah, you can use direct connection string. You don't need authentication details and all. And in the deployment package section, I am choosing SQL script file, and whatever we generated here I am putting here. Okay, there is again inline script also, DAG pack file also support. So this is again another task, which is to deploy the changes to Azure database. Okay, I am not running it. I deleted that database. I will show you how it is deployed. So first it is running a command .NET .txt new tool manifest, then it is installing .NET TF, .NET 2 install .NET TF. So you remember this slide, .NET tool install, .NET tool install global .NET TF. Same thing is happening here, .NET Pro install .NET. Then I am generating the script, EF migration script to a directory. That button, it is publishing, and here is the deployment. Okay, that's the way we are creating Azure DevOps pipeline in Azure DevOps. And here is the YAML. So if you don't want the class creator, you can always switch to YAML. Yeah, coming back to my problem. So when we started the discussion, I discussed what we are doing. So for each customer we have got an isolated database. So if you look into this session, I am talking only about deploying to one database. So in the SQL task, if you look, I am specifying to do SQL DB. But you may ask, why? What about multiple database? So out of the box, Azure DevOps doesn't support anything like that. So what we did, we created a PowerShell script. Right now I am disabled it. So what it does, here is the PowerShell script. So basically what it is connecting to the master DB. So here I am selecting first, okay, the connection string I am putting a environment variable. I am putting a connection string like master connection, and I am putting my DB as master DB, and in here I am looking for databases in this database which is not in which is not like master or MDB model or MSDB. So I want only for databases. Then I am dynamically creating a connection, just replacing the database master DB, this one, with database name, and then I am invoking the same invoking SQL CMD with the script file, which is part of like we saw in the build artifacts directory or when we generated that, and with the replace connection string. So it can be deployed to multiple databases. Okay. Another challenge or usual thing happens was what about store procedures. So in case of store procedures, what you can do again, Azure or if migrations doesn't offer anything out of the box for store procedures. So what you can do, you just need to create an empty migration. So let me create one empty migration. .NET here migrations. Get all nodes. So what it does, it will create an empty migration. I mean, it doesn't have anything in the up and down. So in the up and down, whatever you want to execute, you can put it here. In the up method, you creating a stop procedure, create or alter stop procedure, just get all to do items and select. And in the down, you just do the same thing with the drop. So here migration builder dot SQL. Yeah. Same thing with if you look into this migration builder SQL drop. This is GitHub Copilot is doing it for. Okay. So that's the way we are doing for Azure stop here. Let me do that. I'm not sure whether it is. Let's see. So let me execute it. Whether my database will see. Okay, yeah, there is something wrong. Yeah, I think I forgot how stop procedure works. Okay, I don't know. Like you can do that. Try. Okay, you don't require that. Now if I go here, yeah, it is created. Okay, so that's the way we want to stop this. Yeah, let's look into deploying EF core migration bundles. So, what is migration bundle? It's a new feature introduced in .NET 5, .NET Core 5. It's nothing. Whatever command we run using SDK or CLA to EF core create a self-executable which can be executed directly with connection string, so that the migrations, whatever migrations we created, can be deployed automatically to the database without any. You don't require any SDK. You just need a runtime. So um, this is important. Why? Because if you are using .NET Azure in Azure, if you are using their pipelines, all these things will be installed. But, if you are using your own on-premise build agents, you need to install a lot of things on that machine. Like if you want to run these things on their machine, you need to install uh, like migrate download SDK, which is anyway required. Another thing you require SQL, uh, like SQL CMD. You want to run SQL CMD or SQL task, which is as basically invoking SQL CMD command in PowerShell. So you need that SQL Server package. So you need to install it as part of your build pipeline or build agent. But if you are using EF core migration bundles, you don't need to worry any of like about all those things. You just need to install the SDK. As everything is managed by bundles. So we can do like we do the same thing, except instead of deploying the database update directly, what we can do here, I don't have any bundles, so what I can see $df migration is bundle. So what it will do, it will create a executable EF bundle with the name EF bundle, and it will fail. Sometimes it will fail because since I opened the project, so let me open. Okay, here I'm opening PowerShell and I'm closing VS Code. Here I'm running the command. It should work right now. It is building. Yeah, I think it created. No, it's still building. Same error, guys. So let me see. You'll most probably see access denied error. Process cannot access. It's yeah, could not copy. Yeah, it's some issue. EF team is still working on this. Let me try deleting these and trying again. Yeah, saying something wrong. Usually what happens when we are running it, it will executable called ef bundle, and you can run it like .ef bundle on Linux, or if you are using a Linux VM as a build agent, or in Windows ef bundle.exe, and you just need to pass the connection. Unfortunately my demo is not working. It's there is a like warning. Oh, no, like it cannot access. Usually it happens when you open the project in VS Code and try to generate a bundle. I will show you the demo in the GitHub Actions. Yeah. Let's look into the action. So here is one GitHub action. What I'm saying here, it runs on Ubuntu latest. My other one was Windows, and here I'm setting up .NET Core. Okay, then I'm just building in a release mode. Then I'm installing the tool manifest, the one we used to run earlier. Okay, and here you just need to run ef bundle and connection. Unfortunately it was failing, that connection string was not, again I deleted that database, so it was failing. So you just need to run it like this. Okay, and I can show you how it looked. No, not this one. Yeah, so if you look into it, it was creating the bundle.txt building bundle and deploying on bundle. And this connection is a secret, GitHub secret. So if I go to settings, secrets, and this is the connection string. Okay, and you can access it like this. Sorry, here like this. It's not connection string. And yeah, since I deleted that database, I changed it to echo command so that it's just my action runs returns again. Okay, and here is our handle. Any questions? Feel free to post it.